Manx Radio.
This is the Isle of Man talking, the Mannin line.
Fast am I, good afternoon. Welcome along to Manx Radio's Mannin Line. Alex in the chair for Andy Wynn today. One day only. He'll be back again tomorrow. So what would you like to talk about? Open line through until 1 o'clock. Did you find that the MGP in the Classic this year was a better schedule? Now it was elongated. I'd love to hear from you if you're a business owner in the hospitality industry. If you live on the course, was it better or worse for you? Also, we could talk about housing, we could talk about horse trams, we can talk about play areas, you name it. There is plenty to talk about as to what's happening on the Isle of Man. Also, that news story about the minimum age for cosmetic surgery could rise to 18. I'm going to be completely honest about this. I wasn't even aware that you could get cosmetic surgery under the age of 18. But yes, that is a possibility on the proposed Regulation of Health and Social Care Bill. Okay, because currently the minimum age to consent for medical care without parental approval is 16. But for cosmetic procedures, it could rise to 18. Do you have an opinion on that? Or anything else that's getting your goat? You know what to do. Send, if you can't get to the phone, send me a text, 166 177, or WhatsApp. But we do give priority to phones because it's a phone-in programme. And let's see who's first on the line. Oh, it's Robert. Hello, Robert.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm not so bad, boy. How are you?
Yeah, getting there. Maybe on monksoup.com later with all the videos. I was wondering, there's two questions I've got for you.
Go on.
One is on housing.
Mm-hmm.
You are the program manager, by the way, for Manx Radio, aren't you?
Yes. What's the official title? Director of Programming Content.
Right. Well, we'll get on that with the second question. The first question on housing. Perspective went by on Sunday with Phil Gorn, and they didn't want to set up an agency for $1.5 million, which would have given us funds on mortgages for other properties for DOI to reinvest. I was just wondering why that was, because it seemed like such a good option to bring it all under one roof.
Well, they did.
Did you see the programme at the weekend?
Yeah, I've got the story in front of me here that it's hoped that a housing agency is going to be set up to provide some continuity. So, of course, you don't get the political change every time you get, a new set of MHKs or something like that. They could change their mind and the priorities change. But in terms of affordable mortgages being set up, who would you suggest would fund that?
Well, with a company, they wanted to set up if I get this right, you'll have to go back to Phil and have a chat with them, but it was $1.5 million to set up an agency outside the remit of politicians, like you say. But I think they went for the lower option. But the idea was to get funds from the UK and set up a company, just a .co basically, to get funds and more mortgages. Once they transferred property into that company from the DOI, as I understand it, the idea was to downplay or down credit that, or whatever you call it, to get more funds and use those assets to get more mortgages.
Right.
Do you get my meaning?
I'm not going to lie, not 100%, but I can check it all out with Phil
for
you.
They'd have more assets. They'd have more assets on the books.
But in terms of
so
the funds from the UK you talk about, where would they come from? I don't think the government in the UK are just going to fling money at us. They very rarely do.
No, not the government in the UK. I think it was just the mortgage market in general in the UK.
Oh, right, like get outside investors.
Well, I mean, the mortgage market is vast in the UK, so, you just got to go on Money Supermarket for that, don't you?
Yeah,
it's massive.
Yeah, that's true. You compare your markets.com and things like that. So what was your other question then that I might be able to help you with?
The other question, as benevolent dictator or whatever you call yourself, what's the idea of having a 90-minute or a 2-hour program on Manx Radio on, and what are the drawbacks and bottlenecks of doing that?
Yeah, what do you mean, a 90-minute 1 hour program
Or a
of
2
what?
hour.
Sorry, of 2 hours of what? Sorry,
A man in line.
Mannin line. Well,
Yeah.
there's a whole variety of different things. Number one, it's normally scheduled at a time where people can listen during a lunch hour. Number two, if you want guests on the Mannin line, they don't normally have chance to give up more than an hour of their time. And number three, we're meant to offer all things to all people. And whilst some days, at the moment, I've got an empty switchboard. If I was here for 2 hours with no music, what am I going to talk about? So we have to balance it. And also, you might not have noticed that there isn't a huge amount of sponsorship on Mannin Line. It's a very popular programme, but we have to also make upward of nearly 50% of our income from commercial sponsorship. And you find that many businesses are not particularly interested in tagging their name to a programme that whinges about everything.
Think so. Okay, fair enough.
Yep.
I think it's. I mean, I've got plenty to say as a Republican, and I come on Mannin Line as a different point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up with RTE and UTV and what have you.
Yep.
And I just offer a different perspective. I think the other people who come on from the south of the island, near Eredveg and people like that, get out of bed in the second half of the programme. So I'm sure it'll light up eventually.
We'll keep our fingers crossed, Robert. But good to chat to you anyway, and I'll chat to you again sometime soon.
All right.
Cheers.
Have a good one. Bye.
So apparently, according to Robert, yes, people in the south of the island will get out of bed and join in soon. Yeah, I've got a free switchboard at the moment. So there's definitely no chance of us going to 90 minutes or 2 hours today when, let's be honest, there's no one on the phones at the moment. Let's have a look. Someone's just WhatsApped in saying, if you can't get to a phone, send a text. Oh, I see your point. Okay, I did say that, yeah, if you can't get to the phone, send a text, and you send a text from your phone. What I meant was that if you're not able to talk on the phone, you can send me a text, but I can't promise to get to them straight away. Also, let's have a look. Thank you to Helen, who's WhatsApped in saying, absolutely much better having the 2-week MGP Classic Festival back, but shame they weren't promoted jointly. Yeah, they're two very separate events, aren't they? And they were very much like that. If you went up one day to the grandstand, there was MGP branding, and then the next day, it all disappeared. And the classic TT was everywhere. A friend of mine who owns a catering business draws her rotas 6 months in advance so staff can plan holidays, but when she looked at the dates early in the year, it only detailed up to Bank Holiday Monday. She didn't realise that the classic was detailed separately on the TT website. This must have caught out loads of visitors working on the holiday dates. Same with the programmes, ridiculous. It needs to be joined up thinking, make it easier for visitors planning their holidays. Helen. That is one criticism I think that you could duly throw at the Isle of Man government, that they don't walk the customer experience very often, do they? This is the way it works for civil servants, and this is our bit, and we look after our bit. Maybe someone else looks after that bit. As a customer, you don't care. You just want everything delivered to you. So if there's a festival of MGP and Classic TT, you want one programme, one website to go to, give me all the details. You don't want to have to work hard for it. It's very rare that businesses are successful if you make your customers work hard to get your product. So, Helen, I think, that is possibly constructive feedback that they really should take notice of. I think we, at one point, had timing systems on two different websites, didn't we, at one point? I know there was two different programs out there. There was a bit of a feedback regarding that. Here we go. Our bus vanning having issues again. This is from 049 saying 20 services at risk of being cancelled on Saturday. And a friend of mine told me at work, the infamous friend at work, told me at work on Saturday evening he had to wait for over an hour to get a bus back to Douglas. One for the DOI minister to look into. Now she's got her service to the Sound. I'm sure Michelle Haywood will look into that. I don't think anyone wants, whatever minister wants bus services cancelled. Is it a problem with staffing? I don't know. But thank you very much for that. And James saying, Alex, you've got a free switchboard as you challenge the callers. Andy lets them waffle endlessly, loving the sound of their own voices. Problem is, James, you get stuck with the sound of my voice, I'm afraid, on that one. So it's, one way or the other. And, here we go. I was waiting. He must have woken up at the sound of Robert. Julian. Hello, Julian.
Hi, Alex. How you doing?
I'm not so bad. Robert, if you're south of the island, Robert said you were still getting out of bed before.
Oh, really? Oh, actually, I think it was 6 o'clock this morning, actually, but I'm sure Robert got up before me.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah, so let's have a bit of challenge then. I like it when you challenge me.
Go on, bring it on.
Right, so I don't know if you're familiar with the conversation I had with Phil the last couple of days. We ran out of time on Friday, so I just wanted to just add a bit more about the fact that the Isle of Man Climate Change Act's baseline year to start measuring our emissions from is 2018, which completely ignores the huge reduction in island emissions when the old diesel generators were removed in 2003 and replaced with the modern gas power system that we've got now.
Yes, full rows, yeah.
But however, everyone else in the area, so the UK, Europe, and even the other crown dependencies of Jersey and Guernsey start their improvement reporting date way back in 1990. And interestingly, Jersey and Guernsey's biggest reduction in overall emissions happened between 2011 and 2014, which actually reduced them by 75% when they stopped using their diesel generators. And that is included within their reporting because, of course, they go back to 1990 like everyone else does. So the question is, why was 2018 chosen for the Isle of Man? And I believe somebody asked Daphne Kane at the meeting in Laxey last week, and she said she didn't know why. However, the answer rests squarely on the shoulders of Professor Curran and his 2019 impact report that incidentally cost £7,000, where, unlike every other jurisdiction near us, Professor Curran recommended that we go to something called the higher ambition pathway. This decision is the reason why the Isle of Man at the moment is only reporting in the news the last day or two a 3.8% improvement in our emissions because it's only since 2018, but ignores the power station's improvement of 74% back in 2003. So this is extremely unfair to us. Everyone else is going back to 1990 and can capture all the stuff that they've done. And if you take a comparison, if you took the UK at the moment, they're saying that they've reduced their emissions by a half, 50%. If you suddenly change their climate change act like ours to 2018, their 50% would become 12%.
So, Julian,
again, they'd lose 7%.
Yeah, so obviously, I get your point. You're saying that, you know, if we move the baseline back, our stats would look better. So you could argue that it would massage the figures. It wouldn't fake the figures, but it would massage the figures in our favour, and that actually currently they've been massaged not in our favour. But if you say there that Professor Curran's report has set what was the phrase, higher ambitious pathway. So basically, we're trying to be greener. We're trying to go above and beyond. Let me ask you the question: what's your problem with us being cleaner? If that's the case,
it will finish us off financially. It will finish us financially.
Okay, so
we don't have the money for net zero spending. The £100 million for a wind farm, blah blah. We can't afford the damage to the industries from net zero's ever-increasing regulations, and they're moving the goalpost. They've moved the goalpost already we're the only one that's did this higher ambition pathway. Why?
Well,
have they got something against us or something?
Well, I would presume, bearing in mind that net zero has been, this isn't something that's been necessarily forced upon us as an island. Our MHKs, our voted officials have voted for this. So, it has gone through the democratic process. They have agreed to it. So I presume that the House that did vote for this thought that actually this is something we should aspire to. Now, like many governments in, many countries across the world, the UK a prime example, when it bounces back between Labour and Tory, the next House might turn around and go, actually, we can't afford this. Is that effectively what you're saying you'd like to see happen? Yeah,
but the bit that's annoying me is we're the whipping boy with news, even on your channel, saying we've only achieved 3.8% when it should be, including the 74%, we should be at around about 78% improvement. We should be the poster child for net zero around the world. And I don't understand why they're hiding this from everyone by artificially narrowing the goalposts to be blind of the massive achievement in 2003. I can't understand why we're the only one. I mean, the crown dependencies aren't doing it.
Do you think,
so why are we doing it?
Do you not think, though, that, say for argument's sake, we did that? We changed the date to take into account the gas-fired power station, and our figures looked better. Do you not think that somewhere there will be another Julian ringing up a phone-in programme going, look, the Isle of Man's massaging its figures to make it look better?
But they've been pre-massaged in the first place. We've had the boot in the neck as soon as Professor Curran recommended that we should go later than any other jurisdiction in the UK, Europe, or the Crown dependencies. I mean, even from the point of view of aligning and harmonising with the reporting from the UK or Europe or the Crown dependencies. How the heck do you, it's difficult to know where you are when you're completely on a different page to everyone else. And it's not in our favour, and it's damaging. I mean, this is also applied to agriculture as well. All the improvements in agriculture since 1990, and there's a lot of farmers who are saying the same thing. Why are we being held to 2018 onwards improvements when we've done huge amount of work over the last few decades? Same thing. And it's hurting our agriculture.
So basically what you're saying is you want a level playing field. Where would you tag us with then?
Let's go to 1990 like everyone else.
Okay. Julian, I'm going to put to you some comments on that. Steve has been on saying that Julian is using Mannin Line in his own personal propaganda and misinformation broadcast channel. Well, it's not an entire channel. Crikey, we'd have him on all day. He says that if you're this passionate, you should stand for election. So are you going to stand next September?
Well, there's a lot of people have asked me that question, and I will be imminently revealing that. However, if Steve or Professor Curran or anyone else would like to dispute with me how it's not a disadvantage to concentrate on 2018 as our start year instead of aligning us with everyone else. I mean, Jersey's like the poster child because of what they did in 2011. But we can't do that because what we did in 2003 is not included. It's like doing amazing work at something and then you're being penalised because they're ignoring what you did a little bit before that. It's just like self-sacrifice or something, and I don't understand why we can't just be on a level playing field with the UK, Europe, and the other Crown dependencies, because everything would come right then, and you'd suddenly see, wow, the Isle of Man, they dropped the UK is wanting to drop by 68% by 2030. Well, we dropped 74% 22 years ago.
Okay.
Why aren't we being advertised?
Well, and do you know what, Julian? That if you're wanting a level playing field, I'm now more interested in reading your manifesto when it comes out ahead of next September.
Yeah, it'll be a very different one from the last set, I tell you.
Before you go, by the way, I mentioned someone had sent in a text asking about bus services and some of the struggles they're having, and I've had a few texts in from people saying, yeah, there are staffing issues. But Claire says maybe if Julian was driving buses, he'd have less time to prepare his speeches each day. Have you got a bit of time you could spare to drive some buses as well, Julian?
Well, if I had been in charge, I wouldn't have pulled the calf thing in the first place. So to give it back again is a bit sort of Indian giving, isn't it? And also, the cheapest and obvious solution would have been maybe the 1 or the 12 bus or whichever, the 2. Why couldn't they've just moved the timetables a bit, like we're being told they're going to do with the 8S, and just divert the bus on its way to Port St Mary? Just go a few minutes up and over and just go the calf to the Sound and then back to Port St Mary and then do the whole thing again. It would have been so easy to do that. You could have just done a few a day and just diverted them off because, the short wheelbase Mercedes Citaro, that goes down there anyway. So why couldn't they have done that?
I don't know the answer, but I'm sure if the minister is listening that she'll be on the phone to you and with great speed, Julian.
By the way, final word.
Go on.
None of those buses are doing 20 along Beach Road in Port St Mary, I tell you that.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, once again, that I'm sure if it's been listened to, they'll get onto it. Thank you, Julian. Lovely to speak to you. And cheers. And speaking... Oh, wow. Here we go, because I did have some messages in about the problems with the bus services. Thank you. The minister is listening. So good afternoon, Michelle. Saying, yes, Alex, we do have issues with staffing, but recruitment is underway. There is a bus driver open day on the 10th of September, 12 till 2 at the sea terminal. So there we go. Okay, if you're looking for some employment or secondary employment, you want to sign up as a bus driver, they are recruiting. So, yeah, very honest. The 10th of September, 12 till 2 at the sea terminal. So there we go. If you can go along to that and, help solve the problem. There is this thing that, we all do whinge about the Isle of Man. Why is this not done? Why is this not done? And someone should sort this. But no one ever likes being part of the solution. They always just like to complain about stuff. Well, here we go. If you're complaining that the bus services don't have enough staff to be serviced, well, maybe you could be a bus driver. 10th of September, 12 till 2 at the C Terminal. And and thank you also to Michelle, who's put a second message saying, in answer to Julian's comments about the bus service, the route will be 30 minutes longer and wouldn't have fitted driver schedules and rest breaks. So there we go, Julian. There's your answer. Right. Let's go straight to the line. Oh, of course. Oh, it wouldn't be right if I hadn't got... Oh, I was going to say Bonzo's on the line, but I can't seem to select... Oh, there we go. Computers. What are they like? Hello, Bonzo.
Hello. Yes. Well, in answer to somebody else's statement about people in the south.
Yes.
Yes, it was Robert.
It was.
Well, I've been up since 8, indeed, and I've been perusing things like like Cura's competition policy consultation document and stuff, because I like that, that's kind of how I rock. What do I do first thing on a Monday morning? I know, I'll get up and read a consultation document.
Well, at least it doesn't send you back to sleep, so that's at least something. So,
no, it spent 17 pages saying absolutely nothing. And I speak as somebody who competition policy was one of my trades in Whitehall. Once upon a time.
Do you feel, Bonzo? This is something that anecdotally I've had off a lot of people recently, which is that the Isle of Man seems to be so tied up in regulating itself that you can't get anything done. And this was conversations about planning, which we all know is a completely broken, useless system over here. It's almost worth building something and then apologising afterwards for not getting the planning. It's that convoluted and over-regulated. Do you think when more of these consultations come out about more regulation, it's putting businesses off and people, in fact?
Well, it's about having regulation in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Now, planning, of course, well, you've only got to look across. How they're trying to do wholesale reform of the planning system because they're trying to build a high-speed railway. They had to spend, £100 million on a back cave. And it went hugely over budget and it was far longer a time project than anyone was able to do in France or Spain.
It makes you feel any better. We had a similar thing that at Groudle Glen, we were told by an expert report to the planners that Groudle Glen is an ancient natural woodland. And of course it's not. It was planted by the Victorians. It was completely bare.
Oh yeah. There's all this kind of thing.
Yep.
And it's like when people talk about the onshore wind farm. How dreadful it would be. Well, I'm sure the Victorians, who they then often cite as being go-ahead people who didn't have to was planning nonsense and actually just went ahead and built things. I'm sure they didn't hear the complaints about the Laxey wheels spoiling the view.
Mm-hmm. Douglas Promenade. Douglas Promenade being built across a gorgeous bay.
All those ghastly just put up hotels so that the hoi polloi can come on the steamers. Yeah.
Exactly.
These kind of objections go back to the year dot. There are things, and also Julian talking about Curran, who was the author, of course, of the climate report upon which policy was based, and then it became the Climate Change Act.
Mm-hmm.
And his recommendation of the higher ambition. As far as I recall, the higher ambition was not followed.
Right.
So, that's a specious, that's not a relevant argument.
But in terms of his point, Julian, I'll sit on the other side of the fence here. Bonzo. Julian feels obviously very strongly that number one, that chasing net zero is going to bankrupt us in terms of a nation. We can't afford it for at a time when we haven't got enough money either. And he feels that we are being judged unfairly and there isn't a level playing field. That actually, if there is a target to be met, we should be judged at the same level from the same date as other jurisdictions that are neighbouring to us. What's your thoughts?
Strangely enough, on the emissions issue,
mm-hmm.
if I recall rightly, because this is the time when my laptop has just decided to die, so I can't look at the numbers.
Make do and mend.
So,
Don't go and buy a new one.
No. Oh, I can mend these things. Oh, that's another story. From what I gather, emissions were about 180 tons or something when it was last running totally on diesel.
Mm-hmm.
Then it went over to the interconnector whilst the Pulrose power station was being built online. And that then reduced the emissions to something like 95 or something, 98. And then when Pulrose switched on in 2003, it actually put the emissions over 200. So I'm not exactly sure where Julian is getting the idea that somehow there was a miraculous reduction.
Oh, okay. Well, where did you get those facts from? Are they publicly shareable?
Those are Manx Utilities figures. I believe they're on the website.
Oh, okay. I shall dig those out. Thank you. So you feel that actually the route we're going. What about the one about whether it's going to bankrupt us? Because there is that element that actually, to be truly green, we could all go back to living in mud huts and living off spud and herring. But society's not going to do that, isn't it?
Well, again, it's about how it's done.
Yeah.
And that's why Curran mentioned in his report about something called the just transition, which is why a lot of the money that we've spent already has been about warm homes, and about energy efficiency, and also about things like seawalls and such. And also coming back to wind power, two things. Firstly, the costs of it, I think, are being hugely misrepresented, because to say £100 million, that would be probably the cost of the whole project over its lifetime, which would be 25, 30 years.
But then you would argue that what you're doing is effectively passing something on to the next generation again to pay for, aren't we?
No, because it's how you distribute the cost as well. Because there's the bit for building it, and then there's the bit for operating it, and then there's the bit for decommissioning it.
Mm.
Yeah, and to build any other form of power station, you'd be looking at the same kind of costs. So to say that this is unduly expensive is, misrepresenting things. And also, of course, they are, as I recall, looking at various different configurations for this, about whether they have 4 smaller wind turbines or whether they have 3 larger ones, and 3 larger ones will cost less than the 4 smaller ones.
Before I'll wrap this one. I'll wrap this one up, Bonzo. But how do you feel though about the fact you just mentioned there that instead of building a new power station, we're still paying for the last one because of the MEA loans fiasco. So by the time that power station is effectively, if we go down the route of decommissioned, downsized, whatever, kept as a spare, and we move over to these giant wind turbines, that we're still going to be paying hand over fist for that power station. Surely we don't want to keep on paying on the tick for stuff we're not using.
Well, firstly, I don't think I think the payments have been reduced, haven't they? Firstly, through some of the sustainability loan.
Well, there was restructuring, but we're still paying off the MEA loans.
Yes, there's restructuring, and also via bill payments and such. There are a proportion of that's going through to debt, and then when you add in inflation and such like that, and indeed the actual planned costs, I don't think it's actually got that much of an effect. And you have to remember also with the wind farmers that under the Electricity Act 1996, as then modified by Climate Change Act 2001, the MUA has to provide, when it considers replacing generation, adding new generation, it has to to do that to produce best value.
Mm-hmm.
And there are various criteria about this. And as someone who actually supported a larger wind farm, but with private participation in it, so as to reduce the risk, I've looked at the numbers again and again, and within the confines of the laws and regulations that MUA have to abide by when they're building new power generation, the numbers work out.
Okay.
Every time.
Okay, Bonzo. Right, I'm gonna call it quits there because I've got a load of messages to get through. But thank you very much for your call,
okay,
as
then.
always. Take care. Bye. Let's have a look through some of your messages here then in response to lots of different things because I like to try and get through the messages. Thank you to John, who's been on saying, Alex, regarding Ørsted, can you please explain the independent expert review of the application? Is that potentially just one person? Well, that's just casting aspersions, John. If you have evidence it's just one person, or is that just pub talk? Okay? Just your opinion is not a fact. So if you can let me know, that'd be good. John says, also, is it a 1.4 gigawatt farm? Something given the very small amount of electricity used in the Isle of Man at peak, less than 80 megawatts, and the huge current MUA export of gas turbine electricity, 40% of that generated, something we want in place. The proposed turbines are huge in comparison to what is in UK waters. This, I presume, is we're talking the offshore wind farm here, John, as opposed to the onshore one. Why do we want turbines to service the UK and Isle of Man waters? I can answer that question, John. Money, leasing out the seabed, making money. Okay, because everything that people want costs money. So realising our assets. So that's why. Per Bonzo's comments, finally, the industrial turbines proposed dwarf the Laxey wheel and have a huge impact on our environment, unlike the water wheel. I can assure you, John, that lead mining, maybe not the water wheel itself, but the whole mining industry had a huge impact on the environment. Yes, still pollutes it heavily to this day. That if you're interested, go and watch my mining video online. Let's have a look. What have we got here? Jan says, hi, when we run out of money, the Manx government will just sell us out to the UK like they have done with our health service. In what way, Jan, are we sold out to the UK for our health service? We send patients across, yes, for specialist treatment. I don't think we've sold out, have we? Judy says, Alex, why is there no live weather forecast from the Met Office at 11 o'clock now? Judy still has it on Sunday night, but no one else does. I really miss it. I'm afraid, Judy, cutbacks. Quite literally. Yep, you have to make ends meet. I'm afraid that we have a mixture of automated programs that go out in the evening, and also the Met Office don't do it for free. So, in order to make ends meet, either that, or you can pester your MHK to give us more money. But no, I'm afraid we had to cut that back. However, it is constantly updated on our various other digital channels which are available. Dick has been on saying, Alex, thank God you're on. My word, getting religious. As the myth that we'd all be millionaires if we have a trial of geothermal has raised its ugly head again on the show, with the usual suspects saying we're sitting millionaires in hot air, which might be true of Tynwald, but not for steam for electricity. Oh, here we go. We're talking about the geothermal. Yeah, last time we were on, that if I remember rightly off the top of my head, we had this debate between one expert and the other expert, and eventually one expert, through a huge number of emails, did agree that geothermal would not work on the Isle of Man because of the geological nature of the rock. But people still want to try and spend a lot of money to do a trial. It's cost nearly 50 million, the trial that's going on in Redruth in Cornwall. I went on holiday there once. Which has been there for a decade, with 2 5-kilometre pipes drilled into the ground in an area of geothermal activity that's higher than the Isle of Man, and even with that, they haven't produced enough electricity to boil a kettle. But the experts on the show think we can do it ourselves. Alex, please put them right on this. Well, Dick, I can pass on your comments, and I can pass on the comments of the experts. I'm not an expert, so there's no way I could put them right, but thank you very much anyway. Let's have a look. We've got Jeffrey on line 1. Hello, Jeffrey.
Hi, Alex. I want to go through this business that Bonzo is talking about again. Are we or are we not self-sufficient? We know we're getting the power from offshore.
Yes.
Are we at the present time? We are. So somebody somewhere else have decided that we have to put 87 wind farms to get better electricity. Is that what we've got to do? We've got to get better out of these 87, do we? What I can't get in my head is that with Sweden, Holland now, the farmers are taking them down. They're causing problems with the farms, so they're starting to take them down. As you already know, of course, America, dig baby dig. Yeah, Europe has just made a deal with America. Deal has just made a deal.
Oh.
Can you hear me, Alex?
It keeps on breaking up, Jeffrey, I'm afraid. So I can hear that you said that in Holland they're taking the wind farms down, and there was something about Europe, and we lost you on that one.
Yeah, well, Europe now have just made a deal with America to buy oil and buy gas. You know, it's dying. And I can't understand why this island has to be told what to do.
Well, in fairness, this island signed up to the treaty of its own volition. You know, it wasn't forced to sign a treaty. It did sign up to the Paris Accords to reduce our emissions in terms of gases and go to net zero. So, what would your solution be? What would you see happening? Are you proposing we just carry on burning fossil fuels?
No. I agree that it does cause problems, but why are we going down the road of wind farms? There is ample evidence to show that they are not as good as they are. You've already heard earlier on in your programme about them. Sweden, Rolls-Royce are now building a nuclear small unit. They're on tests now. Sweden has already started these tests. So why is it we have to sign up to wind farms? When you sign up for something, Alec, if you don't like it, you can send it back. But the problem here on the island with our government at the present time is that they're going with the ways of everybody else. We have got to do it. Your fossil fuels and your oil will always be here when your grandkids are alive. You're not going to get rid of it. You're not going to try and change the planet. It won't work. You've got 2 wars going on at the moment. No, there's 3 wars going on at the moment. And that has to be rebuilt. I don't think the batteries are going to rebuild these countries. It's only us, as usual, and Europe. Sweden and Switzerland are going down the opposite way. Russia, not interested. China, not interested. But we, a pinhead in the middle of the Irish Sea, thinks we're doing well. And as Julian said earlier, we're okay. Where's the CEO on this island? There isn't a number on it to tell you I've got it.
In turn, just to point your point there about whether it's China or Russia, taking the opposite view there, Jeffrey, why is it if it's a matter of doing the right thing? Why should we do the wrong thing with everybody else just because they're doing it? Why is it wrong for us to try and do the right thing?
Why do we have to do the right thing?
Yeah.
Why have to? The reason we're doing the right thing because you've been told to do the right thing. Can you give me a good example of the CO readings on this island? Justin said earlier on, unbelievably, we're the best. We're the best.
But what you just said,
That's today. That's not yesterday. That's today.
Well, my point I was trying to make, challenging yours, was that whether we won't talk climate change, but whether you like it or not, pumping out diesel fumes, for example, and burning stuff is not good. That is pollutants. You know, it's bad for the human body. It's bad for the environment generally. Whether we like it or not, it's an interconnected world. Just because if we don't do it, fumes won't come anywhere near the Isle of Man. That's kind of not how it works. But what I'm saying is that when you say that Russia aren't doing it and China aren't doing it, my question to you is, well, why should we just follow them? Why is it so hard for us to stand on our own 2 feet and say, actually, we want to do it this way?
Well, fine. Does that solve the problem?
No.
No.
No,
It doesn't solve the problem, Alex.
No, but I'm saying that fossil fuels are possibly this. Once again, I'm taking the counter argument. I'm very aware I'm doing that. That fossil fuels are not a permanent solution. You know, they won't always be there. There is only a natural limit of fossil fuels that one day will, of course, run out. So whether it's my lifetime or my great-grandchildren's lifetime, this debate will happen at some point of having to go to a more renewable source. Because
well, a renewable source, Alex is right. Why wind farms? They're not permanent.
No, I would presume from people, and normally, and I find this myself, because I get equally wrapped up in people's arguments when it comes to what I've heard and what I've read on the internet, and when you go and look into it, you realise actually that it's normally written to suit my bias, and when you look into the facts, normally the people who are close to the coalface will turn around and say, well, the reason is this, and will give you a reasoned argument that maybe, I presume for the size of island we are, wind farms are the most affordable compared to doing, say, maybe a tidal scheme across the whole of Douglas Bay, which could be far more expensive, or solar farms, which could be far more expensive to sort the island out and it's not the right climate. Maybe that's it. It's the only one we can afford.
So you're not going down, you're not going over the edge and thinking, wait a minute, they're now building very small nuclear plants that can do a city.
Crikey.
Sweden are already trying it. You know, they do maybe 300,000 people. What I'm putting down is that you've lived here all your life. You drive around this island. The next time I drive around here, I'm going to see 87 wind farms.
Well,
absolutely nuts.
Well, I can tell you now, Jeffrey, there's no proposal for 87 wind farms.
They were talking about it last week. It's turbines.
You're talking about the offshore. Hello to the lady in the background there. The offshore wind farm is obviously different to the onshore wind farm, but yes. Although I'll finish it on this one though, Jeffrey. I'm terrified about the idea of us operating a nuclear plant here. Crikey, come on. We can't even rebuild Douglas Prom.
Alec, you're obviously not understanding a nuclear plant. That's obvious. You're talking about a massive thing like Sidewell. It's now going on to something the size of a garage.
I can
we've got you. Yeah, I can assure you it's happening. But as far as I can see now, in 10 years' time, as this goes ahead, this island will suffer. The next generation will suffer because these wind farms, whatever you want to call them now, they're not capable of turning out. And as far as oil and gas goes, it'll be around. It'll always be around.
Okay, Jeffrey. Well,
it'll only be the island. That's it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your call, Jeffrey. I dispute the fact that gas will always be around because, of course, there's only a limited amount of it. But I see his point to the fact that he feels that it's still available. I'm going to go quickly to some adverty things and then let's go through some text.
When the ordinary just won't do, make your meal out truly iconic at the restaurant at the Ginger Hall Hotel. An expertly crafted menu full to the brim with delicious, freshly cooked starters, mains, sides and desserts, with daily chef specials and their famous ginger roast every Sunday. The restaurant at the Ginger Hall Hotel, Ballymanock Road, Selby. Open Wednesdays and Thursdays from 5 p.m, 12 noon Fridays and Saturdays, and 12 till 4 on Sundays. Dining at the Ginger Hall. You'll want it all.
Hi Liz, I see you've had your garage converted. We're desperate for more room.
Yes, come through and have a look. John called Manx Property Conversions. We now have an extra bedroom, but it could be another reception room, kids' playroom or office. They also did our conservatory roof last year. We were so impressed, we got them back to convert the garage.
Wow, I need that. What's their number again?
Call MPC on 450 500. That's 450 500. Or find them on Facebook at Manx Property Conversions.
Your next adventure is closer than you think. The Loganair sale is now on. Save 17% on flights when booking online with promo code TARTAN17. Book by midnight September 9th. Find deals at loganair.co.uk. T's and C's and exclusions apply, subject to availability.
They may try to offer you a tasty carrot. Perhaps they'll try to give you some stick. But whatever you do, don't become a money mule. It's just not worth the risk. Don't let anyone move money through your bank account, however tempted you may be. You could end up facing serious consequences, including a criminal record, bank account closure, as well as difficulty securing loans or credit in the future. A message brought to you by Isle of Man Bankers Association, Financial Crime Partnership, the IOM Constabulary and Cyber Security Centre for the Isle of Man. For further information, visit csc.gov.im.
Manx Radio's Man in Line. It's 10 to 1. I'm going to try and get through a few of your texts very quickly. Charles says, Scotland recently had a surplus of electricity due to the number of wind farms, hydroelectric plants. Could we not just have another undersea cable to Scotland with pull roads as a backup? We're closer to Scotland than England. I presume we could. I would also presume it's going to cost a lot of money. Thank you to Robert. It says, my main advice to the nice English chap who wants nuclear fission in his garage is, what's your alternative? Lovely day, not raining. I don't doubt you can have small nuclear reactors. I'm not going to lie. I just wonderfully safe. Thank you to Manx Will, who's just messaging lots of stuff about the fact that we're all at chemtrails and geoengineering and stuff like that. And yeah, okay. Give me the facts as opposed to rumour and gossip, because there's a difference between cloud seeding, which is actually a well-known science, and the mumbo-jumbo of chemtrails. Let's have a look. Gary, do you realise what the second most abundant liquid is on Earth? Yes, oil. There is so much of it, it won't run out for thousands of years. Once again, Gary, cite me your source and facts. I would love to hear about you. Also, Andy says, am I being cynical? But there does seem to be a correlation between bus van in shortage of buses and arrival of cruise ships in Douglas and buses with destination signs saying cruise. We didn't say it was a shortage of buses. We said there was a recruitment issue, in fact. And Andy, once again, bus van in recruitment for new drivers on the 10th of September, 12 through until 2 at the Sea Terminal. Get yourself down there. And Liz says, in my opinion, the government should just put exercise bikes hooked up to a main dynamo in every house. We could be a super fit island with free electricity. Do you know what, Liz? Yeah. There's nothing I'd love to do more than sit on an exercise bike at the end of the day making electricity for my neighbours. To watching a Netflix documentary or something. Now, Phil is on the line to talk carbon emissions. Hello, Phil.
Hi, Alex. Yeah, you just said give me the facts. Well, here's the facts. Julian has got it all completely wrong. Bonzo didn't have access to the figures at hand, but Julian's got the right idea that the figures have been massaged, but it's completely the opposite of what he thinks is actually happening. From 1990 to 2017, our emissions increased by 66%. From 1990 to 2016, the UK reduced their emissions by 41%. Ours went up from 0.5 megatons to 0.84 megatons. Now, the reason the Isle of Man government chose the 2018 start date is quite simply, if they'd have gone with the 1990, which the rest of the world has, they would have had a much bigger challenge ahead of them, because they'd have to get rid of the 66% increase that they've already built up from 1990 before they even start making any progress towards lower emissions. So he's got it completely wrong on that. His 73% drop was a blip in the couple of years when the power station was being built, when it was offline, and then immediately after the power station was switched on, it shot up back even higher than before 2001. So he's got it completely wrong. And also, the current report recommended a higher and a lower ambition. And if he just reads the Climate Change Act and the preliminaries to that, the Isle of Man government chose deliberately the lower ambition pathway. They did not choose the higher ambition pathway. So he's given you a lot of wrong information. I hope when he attempts to get into Tynwald, or does get into Tynwald, he gets his facts right. It's the opposite of it's exactly the opposite of what he was saying.
Okay, Phil, and just to back me up a bit here, in terms of your information, where's all that come from that you've just read out to me there?
It's all in every single Isle of Man government document, every report they produced ever since the current report, their response to it, their programs, the analysis they did. It's in every single one of their reports. It's on their website. There's a clear graph showing the rise, the increase. They unfortunately still have to produce the information going back to 1990, and it shows an absolute 66% increase from 1990 to 2017. They've chosen this much higher figure, what we're at in 2018.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you, Phil, for that information, and we'll dig it all out. Thanks very much for your call. Well, there we go. We've had all sides of the argument this afternoon. Thank you to Gary, who has told me that there's tons and tons of oil out there. He says, I've got plenty of friends that work in the oil industry, and that's where I get my insight from. Thank you, Gary. Once again, I'd like facts, not opinions. I can tell you loads of stuff about railways. Whether it's fact or whether it's an opinion that sounds like fact, very different. Thank you very much for the last hour. It's always good fun. Andy will be back in the chair tomorrow. Make sure you give him a call on 66 13 68, even if it's just a whinge about me being stuck here for one day and you couldn't stand listening to me. Christy D is up next with 1 to 3. I'll be back talking my usual rubbish from 3 o'clock this afternoon. Have a wonderful day, won't you? Take care. Ta-da.